I was driving through the autumn afternoon toward my dad's house, the casserole dish steady on the passenger seat beside me. It was my mom's old recipe, the one I had spent weeks perfecting. Every Thanksgiving felt like another chance, another opportunity to finally belong at that table. I had always been the other son, the one standing in the shadow, while my brother soaked up the spotlight. But this year, I told myself this year, I brought something homemade. This year would be different. As I pulled into the familiar driveway, I could see the cars already parked along the street. I grabbed the warm dish and walked up those wooden steps. When the door opened, my dad's expression was not what I expected. My brother stood behind him, arms crossed, wearing that smirk I knew too well. Before I tell you what happened next and how one smile changed everything, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below and hit that subscribe button, because what my family did that night when they realized their mistake will absolutely shock you. Trust me, you will want to see how this unfolds. My dad looked at me like I was a stranger. His voice came out flat and cold. "We do not want to see your face here, Gordon." I stood there holding the casserole, the warmth from the dish seeping through the cloth into my palms. Travis grinned behind him, not saying a word, just watching. I could smell the turkey roasting inside, hear the faint sound of voices and laughter drifting from the dining room. I felt the weight of being excluded settle onto my shoulders like a heavy coat. "What is going on, Dad?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "You know what you did." Travis told us everything. I genuinely had no idea what he was talking about. "Told you what? Do not play dumb with me." My dad crossed his arms, his body blocking the entire doorway. Travis stood there silent, that satisfied expression spreading across his face like he had just won something. I looked from my dad to my brother and back again. The casserole dish was growing heavy in my hands. My mind raced through the past few weeks, trying to figure out what I could have possibly done to deserve this. I had called my dad twice last week, just to check in. I had asked if he needed anything for today. I had made this dish from scratch because I wanted to show I cared. But standing there on that porch, staring at the two of them, something shifted inside me. Memories started flooding back. This was not the first time I had felt like this. This was just the loudest, most obvious version of a pattern that had been going on my entire life. A strange calm washed over me. I could argue. I could demand an explanation. I could raise my voice and cause a scene right there on the porch with the whole family listening inside. Or I could do something different. I could refuse to play this game anymore. I looked at my dad, then at Travis. A small smile formed on my face. Not a bitter smile. Not an angry one. Just a genuine, peaceful smile. The kind of smile that comes when you finally see something clearly for the first time. "All right," I said quietly. "Happy Thanksgiving." I turned and walked down the steps. Behind me, I heard my dad make a sound like he was about to say something, but I kept walking. Travis called out something sarcastic about me running away, but I did not respond. I got in my car, set the casserole on the passenger seat, and backed out of the driveway. I saw them both still standing at the door, watching me leave. I did not look back again. As I drove away, my mind drifted to my childhood. I thought about elementary school when I had practiced magic tricks for weeks to perform at the talent show. I was so excited, so ready to make my dad proud. But on the day of the show, he had an emergency at work. He could not make it. That same afternoon was one of Travis's baseball practices, and Dad never missed those. Not once. High school graduation came to mind next. I had worked hard, graduated with honors, even earned an academic scholarship. That night, we went out for a family dinner to celebrate. But within 10 minutes, the conversation shifted to Travis's new girlfriend. My dad raised his glass to toast Travis, barely mentioning my achievement. I remember sitting there, my diploma folder tucked beside my chair, feeling invisible. When I turned 23, I decided to become a paramedic. It was not an easy path. The training was intense, the hours brutal, but I loved it. I was saving lives, making a real difference. When I told my dad, his response was simple. "That is nice, Gordon. But did you hear Travis got promoted to assistant manager?" He never asked about my work after that. Never asked about the calls I went on, the people I helped, the nights I came home shaking because I could not save someone. It was always about Travis. The last 3 years, I had tried even harder. I called every week. I sent birthday gifts. I showed up to every family event no matter how tired I was from my shifts. Travis barely called. He bailed on plans constantly, but he remained the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my father's eyes. Last year, I brought my girlfriend Sarah to Thanksgiving dinner. My dad forgot her name 3 times in one evening. 3 times. When Travis brought his girlfriend 2 months later, my dad remembered everything about her. Her job, her hometown, her favorite food. He asked her questions, made her feel welcome. Sarah and I broke up 4 months after that Thanksgiving. She told me she felt like she was dating a ghost, that I was always trying so hard to be seen by people who refused to look. 6 months ago, Travis asked my dad for $20,000. Some business opportunity he swore would change his life. My dad wrote the check without hesitation. The business failed within 3 months. Travis never paid him back. My dad never mentioned it. I had put myself through paramedic training, never asking my father for a dime. No one ever acknowledged that. No one ever said they were proud of my independence. 2 months before this Thanksgiving, it was my mom's birthday. I organized the entire surprise party. I invited everyone, arranged the venue, picked up the cake, decorated everything myself. Travis showed up 40 minutes late with wilted flowers from a gas station. At the end of the night, my dad put his arm around Travis and thanked him for making the day so special. I stood there holding the empty cake box, completely invisible once again. All of these memories played in my head as I drove away from my father's house that Thanksgiving afternoon. But for the first time, I was not trying to figure out what I had done wrong. I was not trying to figure out how to fix it, how to be better, how to finally earn what Travis got for free. I was just driving, and I was free. I drove to my apartment and sat in the parking lot for a few minutes, staring at the casserole dish. It seemed like such a waste to throw away perfectly good food. Then I remembered that the guys at the firehouse always had a few strays on holidays. Paramedics and firefighters who had nowhere else to go, or who pulled holiday shifts and missed their own family dinners. I called Marcus, my partner at work. He picked up on the second ring. "What is up, Gordon? You still at your mom's place?" I asked. "Yeah, man. We are just sitting down to eat." "Why, everything okay?" There was a pause. Marcus knew me well enough to hear what I was not saying. "Come over," he said immediately. "My family has got plenty of room. Seriously, my mom will be thrilled. She always makes too much food anyway." I hesitated. I did not want to impose. But Marcus insisted, and something in his voice made me say yes. 20 minutes later, I was standing on the porch of a house I had only been to once before. Marcus opened the door before I could knock. His mom, Mrs. Patterson, appeared behind him seconds later. She was a short woman with warm eyes and an apron covered in flour. "You must be Gordon." She pulled me into a hug before I could introduce myself. "Marcus has told me so much about you. Come in, come in. More people means more blessings." I felt something rise in my throat, an emotion I had to push back down. I handed her the casserole dish, explaining that I had made it myself. Her face lit up. She called over her shoulder to someone in the kitchen, asking them to make space for one more dish. Within minutes, I was sitting at a crowded table surrounded by people I barely knew, and yet I felt more welcome than I had in years. They loved the casserole. 3 people asked for the recipe. Marcus's aunt wanted to know where I learned to cook. His younger sister asked about my job, genuinely interested in the stories I told about being a paramedic. For the first time in years, I was having real conversations. People were asking real questions and actually listening to the answers. Around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed on the table. I glanced down and saw a text from my dad. "Call me." I ignored it and continued my conversation with Marcus's cousin about the best hiking trails near the city. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Another text from my dad. Then Travis started calling. Then my dad called. I silenced my phone and placed it face down on the table. Marcus noticed. "Everything okay?" "Just family stuff," I said. "I am good." But my phone kept lighting up. Notifications were piling up faster than I could count them. I excused myself to the bathroom and checked. 17 missed calls. A dozen text messages. My dad's messages were progressing from "call me" to "this is important to call now" in all capital letters. Travis's messages were vague but urgent. Then, one from my dad caught my eye. "There has been a misunderstanding." I stared at my phone, confused. What had changed in just a few hours? What could have possibly happened between the moment he turned me away at the door and now 8 o'clock on Thanksgiving night? I turned my phone off completely. I returned to the dinner table and enjoyed the rest of the evening. Around 10 p.m., I thanked Marcus's family and headed home. Mrs. Patterson hugged me at the door and held my shoulders, looking me straight in the eye. "You are welcome anytime, Gordon. You hear me anytime." The drive home felt different. Lighter somehow. Friday morning, I woke up and turned my phone back on. It exploded with notifications. 38 missed calls. 26 text messages. 3 voicemails. I listened to the voicemails first. The first one was from my dad, time-stamped at 8:15 p.m. His voice was stern and demanding. "Gordon, stop being childish. Call me back immediately." In the background, I could hear people arguing. The second voicemail came at 9:40 p.m. My dad's tone had changed. His voice was slightly slurred. He had been drinking. "Son, we need to talk. There has been..." Travis said something and, "Just call me." He sounded more desperate than angry. The third voicemail was from 11:30 p.m. My dad's voice was broken. "Gordon, I am sorry. I am so sorry. Please call me back. I need to explain." I could hear him crying. I had never heard my father cry before. Not once in my entire life. I sat down at my kitchen table and started reading through the text messages in chronological order. The early ones from Travis were defensive and vague. "Dude, you need to call Dad." Then, at 9 p.m. "Okay, I messed up, but you do not have to make it worse." At 9:20, "It was not supposed to go like this." My dad's texts told their own story. "Call me. Gordon, please. I made a terrible mistake. Your Aunt Janet called. She told me the truth. Travis lied to us. I should have listened to you. I should have believed you. Please come back." The final text from my dad came at 1:30 in the morning. It was long, a full paragraph. He explained that Travis had told them I said terrible things about my father, that I had called him a failure, that I said our family was dysfunctional, that I was only coming to Thanksgiving to show off. My dad had believed Travis without question, without ever asking me if it was true. Aunt Janet, my dad's sister, had been at the house. After I left, she asked what had happened. When my dad explained, Janet was shocked. "That does not sound like Gordon at all," she had said. She told my dad that she had run into me 2 days earlier at the grocery store. I had been excited about Thanksgiving, talking about how I had been practicing making the casserole. I never said a single negative word about anyone. Janet confronted Travis directly. Eventually, he admitted he made the whole thing up. Why? Because my dad had promised to co-sign an apartment lease for me. Travis was jealous. He wanted my dad's financial help for himself instead. He thought if he made me look bad, he would look better by comparison. I sat in my kitchen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. The pieces were falling into place. This was not just about Thanksgiving. This explained so much. How many times had Travis subtly sabotaged me over the years? How many times had my dad believed him without question? I felt validation, anger, and sadness all crashing together at once. I spent the morning thinking about what to do. I could call my dad back immediately and hear his apologies. I could ignore them and let them stew in their guilt. I could send an angry text. But this was bigger than one Thanksgiving dinner. This was about a pattern that had lasted 30 years. One apology would not change that pattern. At noon on Friday, after finishing my shift at the station, I sent my dad a text. "I got your messages. I need some time to process this. I will reach out when I am ready." He responded immediately. "Please, can we just talk?" "Not yet," I wrote back. "I will let you know." Then I turned off my notifications. That evening, I sat down at my laptop and started writing. Not an angry letter, an honest one. I wrote everything I had never been able to say out loud. "Dad, I want you to understand something." I started with my childhood, describing what it felt like to grow up invisible. I listed specific moments: the talent show, my graduation, my career choice. I explained how each dismissal had accumulated over the years, how I had watched Travis receive unconditional support while I had to earn scraps of attention. I addressed the Thanksgiving incident directly. I was not angry about being turned away at the door. I was hurt that my dad had not questioned it. 30 years of being reliable, dependable, responsible, and one accusation from Travis erased all of it. My entire track record meant nothing. I explained what had changed on that porch. I realized I had been seeking approval from the wrong source. My dad's love came with conditions I could never meet. Not because I was insufficient, but because my dad had decided long ago that Travis was the favorite. Nothing I did would ever change that. I described the smile. It was not defiance. It was liberation. It was the moment I stopped trying to earn something that was freely given to my brother. It was the moment I chose myself. I wrote about the present situation. I appreciated that my dad had learned the truth. I appreciated the apology. But one apology did not undo 30 years of being second best. I needed time. I needed to know if my dad actually wanted a relationship with the real Gordon, or if he just felt guilty about this specific incident. I set clear boundaries. I would not rush back to make him feel better. I would not pretend Thanksgiving was the only issue. If he wanted a relationship, it needed to be different. An equal relationship, not a parent and child dynamic where I constantly had to prove my worth. I needed to see consistent effort, not just a crisis response. I closed the letter simply. "I spent 3 decades trying to be enough for you. I am done with that. If you want to know me as I actually am, I am open to that. But it has to be real this time." I signed it with just my name. Gordon. I sent the email Saturday morning. It felt strange pressing send. Not angry strange. Peaceful strange. My dad called within an hour of reading it. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was thick with emotion. "You are right, about all of it. I do not have an excuse. I want to see you. Not to make myself feel better. To listen. Whenever you are ready. I will wait." There was something different in his voice. Humility. Something I had never heard from him before. Over the next 2 weeks, my dad sent brief texts. No pressure. Just checking in. They were different from the desperate messages that first night. "Hope you are doing well. No need to respond. Just want you to know I am thinking of you." I appreciated the space he was giving me. Meanwhile, Travis reached out with a long text apologizing. But his apology was focused on getting caught, not on the harm he had caused. "I did not think Dad would actually kick you out. It got out of hand." Classic Travis playing the victim of circumstances. I did not respond. Aunt Janet called me one afternoon. She apologized for not speaking up sooner. "I have watched this pattern for years and stayed quiet. I am sorry, Gordon." She told me that my dad had been doing real reflection. He had even gone to a therapy session. He was actually listening to her now. I felt cautiously hopeful, but still guarded. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I agreed to meet my dad. We chose a neutral location, a park near my apartment. There was a bench by a pond. I arrived at 11 a.m. and found my dad already there waiting. He looked older than I remembered, tired. When he saw me approaching, he stood up, but did not go for a hug. He respected the space between us. We sat down on the bench. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. I nodded. "I read your letter 20 times. Every time I found something else I had missed." He paused, staring out at the water. "I did favor Travis. I know that now. He was a difficult child. He needed more attention. A pattern developed. You were easy, independent, capable. I took that for granted. I assumed you did not need me. But I realize now that you needed me differently, not less." He turned to look at me. "I made you earn what Travis got for free. That was not fair. That was not right." Hearing him say it out loud, acknowledging those years of hurt, did not fix everything. But it was a start. "What happens now?" he asked. I gave him an honest answer. "I do not know yet. But I know what I need." I listed my boundaries clearly. No more comparing me to Travis. No more expecting me to shrink myself to make others comfortable. If he made a commitment, he had to keep it. It would take time to rebuild trust. And I would not chase his approval anymore. He accepted my terms without defensiveness. "I understand. I will do better." We sat in silence for a while. It was not uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people starting over. Before I stood to leave, my dad said something that surprised me. "That casserole you brought. I heard it was your mother's recipe." "Yeah. It took me weeks to get it right. Would you make it again sometime?" For both of us, I considered his question. "Maybe for Christmas. We will see." It was a small opening. Not a promise. Just a possibility. My dad accepted it. The following months brought slow progress. My dad kept his commitments. He continued therapy. He checked in regularly. Our relationship with Travis remained distant. He never gave a real apology, and I accepted that some relationships cannot be fixed. I chose to focus my energy on the ones that could be. I grew closer to Marcus and his family. I learned that family is not just about blood. Family is about who shows up, who sees you, who makes space for you at their table without you having to earn it. I thought about that smile often. The one I gave my dad on the porch that Thanksgiving afternoon. That smile was freedom. Freedom from needing external validation. Freedom from proving my worth over and over again. My worth was never the question. The question was whether they would see it. And I learned that I did not need them to see it. Seeing it myself was enough. If my dad wanted to join me in that truth, that was beautiful. If not, I would be okay anyway. I learned that true strength is knowing when to walk away. True wisdom is knowing when to leave the door open. Not for them, but for myself. I chose peace over being right. I chose myself over being chosen. That Thanksgiving, standing on my father's porch, holding a casserole he would never taste, I learned something crucial. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is smile and walk away. Not because you do not care, but because you finally care enough about yourself to stop waiting for others to see your worth. They will either catch up or they will not. Either way, you keep moving forward. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to walk away from people who refuse to see you? Have you ever had to choose yourself when it felt like the hardest thing in the world? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not up for debate. You deserve people who see you clearly and choose you freely. Take care of yourself out there.